I'm scared. It is Friday morning, first day of YALC.
So it's like two different vibes.
This will never be seen anywhere on the internet, Emery. In terms of YALC as an event, it's not really worth it. Hello everybody and welcome to what is going to be a very exciting but also very nerve-wracking vlog for me, because tomorrow morning I'm going to be heading all the way down to London to go to YALC. So YALC is the Young Adult Literature Convention, I think it stands for. It's been going on for like a number of years. It hasn't happened recently because of the pandemic, of course, but it does predate the pandemic by at least a few years, and it's not an event that I've ever particularly wanted to go to. However, for some reason, I don't know whether it's just because there's like a larger booktube presence in general than there was pre-pandemic, but like everyone is going to YALC this year, and I'm mainly going for the vibes over the event. I'm going because I want to see all of my booktube friends, including the ones that I haven't met yet, and of course having a great time with the ones that I have met and that I see pretty frequently. So I'm going to be staying with Ashley, Cody and Gavin, and I'm mainly excited for this event because while I do see my friends pretty frequently, we never really hang out together in a group of more than 4, because obviously with people living all over the country, it's hard to get everybody in one place. But like 95% of the like UK booktubers and also some of the Dutch booktubers that I know are going to be there this weekend, and that's what is making this event really exciting for me. Of course, as somebody who does have anxiety, that is also playing like a big part into my emotions for the event. I'm somebody who very much feels anxious in the preparation. When I get there, I'll be fine, but right now I'm really anxious about it, anxious about making sure that I have everything done before I go and that I've packed everything, which I'm about to go and start scheduling proofing videos in the bath. I think it's around 8 p.m, but I need to get myself ready, obviously, and I also haven't finished work. Like, I have no videos ready, they're all edited and uploaded, but I need to get those scheduled. So yeah, we're running a little bit late, which is adding to my stress a little bit. And I did also, of course, want to spend some time with Curtis this evening, with me going away for like 4 days. But I thought that I'd come and get this vlog kicked off, one, so that you have a little bit of an introduction, and two, so that I can introduce you to the book that I plan to read throughout this weekend. So obviously when I'm there, I'm not really going to get much reading done. I don't foresee me doing any reading at all on like the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, but my train to London I think is about 3 hours and 45 minutes, and my train home is just over 3 hours, so I've got a lot of reading time there. And I originally really wanted to read a book that was sent to me by Source Books, specifically because the author is at YALC, and that is Monsters Born and Made by Tanvi Berwa. This one is a YA fantasy about siblings who hunt these like mythical creatures called maristags, and there's a game that the elite participate in called the Glory Race. Our main characters are tasked with acquiring the maristags for the Glory Race. However, when they are one short, it leaves them without enough money to buy medicine for their chronically ill sister, and so one of them infiltrates the Glory Race to try and make that money back. So this was my number one, and I thought that it was a decent length as well, considering I only really have the train journeys. However, YALC tweeted, I think it was yesterday, that Tanvi Berwa is no longer going to be there, so sadly we're going to rain check on this. The release date for it is September, so I still do plan on reading it before then. It just sadly ain't going to be this weekend. Luckily, I did have a backup book that I also snuck into my July TBR with Monsters Born and Made, because I did really want to read a book by an author at YALC, you know, just like thematically. I'm not going to bother meeting this author, especially because this book is already signed. I'm going to be picking up Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. Now, usually I would say that this is also pretty fitting because this is about a government organisation of witches, also known as HMRC. Now, in the real UK government, HMRC is the tax office, but in this book it is Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and I believe that their founding member was Anne Boleyn, and they are tasked with investigating like all of the paranormal supernatural cases that happen that the normal like police and investigative bureaus can't handle. Now, usually I'd say that this was fitting because these witches are part of the government. The seat of the UK government is in London. However, if we go off the map at the front of this book, we do have a map of the UK, but we also have a map of Hebden Bridge, which is not in London. It's not even in the south. It's actually in West Yorkshire, which isn't that far away from me. I've heard a little bit of hype for this, but I haven't actually heard any reviews of it yet, so I'm not sure what to expect at all. But I do have a feeling that I'm going to enjoy enjoy it. So fingers crossed that I do, especially as the last book I read, the first book of July, I actually gave 2 stars to, and that was a book that I actually thought I was gonna love. Good morning, it's 10 to 10 and I leave in 10 minutes. I'm scared, I'm nervous. I'm really worried that I've forgotten something, and then just also nervous in general. But I got my case, I also have my backpack, and yeah, we move.
I still need to recover from another love. Oh, would you be here for me?
You look beautiful.
Really, with this hair?
Yeah, it's the best hair I've ever seen.
What should we?
My mommy.
Yeah, you. Oh, hey.
Heart in mind. What should we do tonight? Let's just find out. Pretty blue jeans and me. Running through evergreen. Pretty blue jeans and me. Yeah, she's what I need. I still need to recover from another lover. You're my picture perfectly. Still haven't met your parents, but we hang with your brother when he could use the company. What shall we do tonight? What if this breaks your little heart in mine? What shall we do tonight? Let's just find out. Pretty blue jeans and me. Running through evergreen. Running through evergreen. Pretty blue jeans and me. Yeah, she's what I need.
Hello, everybody. It is a Friday morning, first day of YALC. First day of YALC. We're about to head out. We're gonna go get breakfast. We are a little bit late, but it's fine. We just really want food, so we're gonna go get breakfast and then head over there. I'm really excited actually because the Illuminate.
You can call it.
Wow, you've had that before.
The Illumicrate table has reportedly it has Red Rising bookmarks by Merwild. So I've been wanting to get my hands on those for a while and I'm very excited.
Leave a thing in the comments if you think Becca's going to get one or not. I'm going to take your guesses now. Place your bets.
Okay, I'll report back later and let you know if I was successful.
They gathered by the sea, sand people anxiously. Not once did speak to me. When tides came, did not flee. They each spoke the same, had the same dreams, same pain and same feelings. Staring at the sea and what was left of me. Found out, they tried to shout, but when in doubt, the facade of the sea staring back at me. Each led like sheep, stepped foot to sea, drowning oh so patiently. Sand people.
So it's like 2 different vibes.
god. You can see in that mirror behind, but there's nothing there. But it would be really funny if you could see your face in the mirror behind, but you can't.
Sulking.
It's fine. So we got back to the hotel not too long ago. What time is it?
12:30.
It's 12:30. We've been out a long time. I think we left at, was it just past 9 this morning? And we got back at just before midnight. But I wanted to let you guys know that I picked up a book, because when I go on a trip, I like to buy like a souvenir book. If you go into the Forbidden Planet in London, they have a ton of like paranormal romance and fantasy romance. And I really wanted the first Alona Andrews book, which is Magic Bites, and they sadly didn't have it. So I was torn about what to get, and there's nothing that I really want or need right now that I haven't ordered or pre-ordered or something. But I did notice there is a Waterstones edition of Lore Olympus Volume 2. Now I have pre-ordered the Illumicrate version, but I don't have the Illumicrate version of Volume 1. So I was going to get the second one and get like the Illumicrate ones from then on, because the covers are the same, it's just the edges that are different. But I might cancel that now that I've got this, because it's not like I need the second Illumicrate one to match at all. But I think it has a like bonus short story in it. But the thing that really drew me to it and made me want it is the fact that it does have an alternate cover, and I really like this one. So if you guys don't know what Lore Olympus is, it is a webcomic series. I think I've just spoken about it in a video. No, I don't know which one it was. What video have I done where I was speaking about Lore Olympus?
Some kind of media thing.
No, I've only filmed one so far, and it was the best books, and I read this last year. Oh no, it is. I think it's the mid-year freakout tag. I just haven't posted it yet, but I have filmed it. But it is a webcomic that is being bound up into print, that is a Hades and Persephone retelling with a whole ton of other Greek myth and Greek myth characters in there as well. So you have like Hera, Eros, Aphrodite, and it's essentially a Hades and Persephone romance. The first volume is just 400 pages of mutual pining, and actually we were in Hyde Park earlier today and I read the first 4 pages of this, and I am obsessed once again. So I'm really excited to read this, and I might crack it open as soon as I get home, to be honest, because I've been desperate. I don't want to read these online because I know if I fall down that rabbit hole I'll never stop. Are you okay? Should we show that picture here, because we're never going to see it anywhere else? Okay, this will never be seen anywhere on the internet, Emery. Oh my god, that is just beautiful. I love it. That's your exclusive preview. I can't remember what I was saying about this. Oh, I don't want to read it online because I don't want to fall down the rabbit hole, because I know I'll just binge the entire thing and then I'll be sad that I'm up to date. So I have been waiting for the print versions, and I'm desperate to read this one.
3, 2, 1. Arguing again, arguing about something so simple. Make it clear, tell me why you're running back to him. Feeling insecure, feeling like there's more to your character. Every tear that you cry is worth it in the end. But baby, tell me, how have you not figured it out? Ooh, dry your eyes. The world can always give you reasons to cry. Understand, you're stronger than you know. There's power in your bones. The flowers that you've grown were watered by your tears. You say you're growing old. One day you're gonna fold. Amazing how you go unbothered through the years. But if you just let go and fall into the garden that you grew, you would finally know that you don't have to be somebody new. So you finally running far away from your history, but there's clouds over your head every time, and they keep following you with no clue of what to do. I can make them vanish if you let me shine. You like to put somebody else's happiness before your own. I see the weight of Atlas on your shoulder, weighs a ton. I'm trying to be the ball and light and energy for you to grow. You see, you're just a flower who has never seen the sun. You're stronger than you know. There's power in your bones. The flowers that you've grown were watered by your tears. You say you're growing old. One day you're gonna fold. Amazing how you go unbothered through the years. But if you just let go and fall into the garden that you grew, you would finally know that you don't have to be somebody new. And this is only place of flowers under your hair. You don't have
So,
to care about anything you used to care.
Gavin just left and took the key with him so he could get back.
Just walked out and left us in the dark.
And now all the lights have gone off.
Party in the dark.
So, he should be back in McDonald's and we feel like he's going to ask us why it's dark.
Watching me sat out there for ages now and we're just sat here in the dark waiting for him to bring us light and McDonald's.
You're ready to go home?
Yeah.
I feel
Miss
you.
my cats.
It's gonna feel very quiet though.
Yeah.
Sure.
Back to me and my little old flat versus the hundreds of thousands of people who've been around constantly.
That's
Not just
true.
at YALC, just in London in general as well.
Yeah.
I'm just not reacting.
Oh, by the way, oh, right. I get it. I get it. Oops. No, no, my go, just go. Mwah. Yeah, I will see you guys soon, okay?
When you get back.
Hate to see you leave, but love to watch you walk away, yeah? Let's make this graceful, shall we? Bye.
This is only fair. Now go ahead and let your hair down. Place the flowers into your hair. You don't have to care about anything you used to care about. When you want to smile, I'll be there.
Hello, I'm here. I made it home. I've been home for a few hours now and I'm happy to be home in terms of I've had a really busy weekend and I'm kind of exhausted with all of the walking around, also all of the socializing. I know there were a couple of points throughout the weekend where I hit a brick wall with socializing and I just kind of couldn't continue. It's okay with the people that I'm like super close with that I talk to all the time where I can say like I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed, so just to let you know. But generally with just so many people, there were a couple of points where it was quite a lot, so I'm glad to be home in that regard. But I have had such a good weekend. I'm also wedged into the spare bedroom right now just because I'm about to do a Comic-Con haul for you guys and all of the stuff was already upstairs, but the boiler does keep clicking on and on, so sorry if you can hear that a lot and it's like super distracting. But yeah, I had the best weekend. I had such a good time with everybody that I met and hung out with, of course, but like obviously the main people I was with constantly are Ashley, Cody and Gavin, like my bestest friends. Also we spent a lot of time with Beth and Nathaniel, who are the most precious beans. I'm so happy that I met Beth, and Nathaniel is also of course the sweetest. So I had a great time with those as well and it was just an amazing time. It was a really good weekend and we're already making plans to do it again. So I guess in terms of the event itself, because I know that a lot of people have had FOMO about this weekend, about not being able to go, about being in different countries. I would say in terms of YALC as an event, it's not really worth it, especially if you're thinking about coming from overseas. I've seen US people say that they may try and come at some point. Totally not worth it. If you are a fan of Comic-Con and you like that kind of nerdy stuff and Comic-Con is something that you like or may be interested if you've never been before, then I would say that it's probably worth it. And then if you can get a group of friends together as well, amazing. So I never really wanted to go to YALC. It's an event, I'm not sure if I touched upon this at the beginning of the video, but it's kind of like an event that I've always known has happened and I've never been interested in going. For me, it was about spending time with people, spending time with my friends, having a great weekend, and an excuse for all of the bookish people in my life to come together. And for that, I loved it. And I know that a lot of people have like complained about the event this year or were a little bit disappointed in it. I wasn't, because I didn't really expect much from it to begin with, if that makes sense. It's mainly authors and also buying books. So if you can fill a full weekend full of that, if there's enough authors for you to want to attend, then the event itself is great, but there's nothing really else to do outside of that, outside of the sign-ins. So I would say just be aware of that if you are planning on going next year. Like if you're a fan of Comic-Con, I think you'll have a great weekend, and you'll have an even better weekend if you're just there to like meet people and hang out with people and have a good time with friends. So I just wanted to cover that a little bit now that I'm back. such a good time. And I'm sad there's actually people that I avoided saying goodbye to yesterday because I was feeling generally just a little bit tired at the end of the weekend and also a little bit anxious. I avoided saying goodbye to people because I knew I was going to cry and I really didn't want to cry in public, but honestly I had the best time. Definitely going again next year. Also planning on going with a little bit of a bigger group next year, maybe taking Curtis as well for the Comic-Con thing because I think he would love it. And I also think that he's sad that he missed out because he's never been to Comic-Con and didn't know that it was something that he would love, but like he would. So I did buy quite a lot at Comic-Con. I didn't buy anything at YALC, I don't think. I only bought one book this weekend, which is the one that I've already shown you, which is of course Laura Olympus Volume 2. Although I do have, oh, I did buy one thing at YALC, which I'm sure I told you that I got them. But that is of course the Red Rising books from Merwild, so I will show you those first. There they are! I am so obsessed. I'm so happy that I managed to get these. This is the only set of Merwild bookmarks that I don't have because at the time I didn't read Red Rising, so I wouldn't have bought them, but now it's my favorite series ever. So I'm so glad that the Illumicrate team actually took these ones to YALC because I think they had Darker Shade of Magic, Red Rising and Agatar, but I know I have a Truth Witch bundle, which they didn't have for sale there as far as I'm aware. So I'm so glad that they had these ones, and honestly, one of my best purchases. So things first, I guess, that I maybe got for other people. I didn't actually get much for myself. I'm a big gift giver and I love spoiling people, but I actually suck at spoiling myself a lot of the time. But there's Funkos everywhere at Comic-Con, as you can imagine, and my best friend Ryan is a big collector of Funkos. His favorite things like Funkos and Lego sets. So I took some pictures of some stands and was like, is there anything particularly rare standing out that you're seeing that you maybe want and are struggling to get hold of? And he selected this, which is Peter Parker in, I think the thing that's special about it is that he's wearing his like normal clothes and not his spider suit, but I picked that up for him anyway. And then while we're talking about Spider-Man, this is something that I got myself, but for Ryan as well, I also picked up these bookmarks, which I actually wanted. I saw a couple of people, I think was it Beth and Amy, had the print with all three of the Spider-Men on, and when I went to the stall, they actually didn't have any left, so I got the 3 different bookmarks. Then I picked up an Andrew Garfield for myself. Somebody laughed at me because I said, can I have one of each of the Spider-Men and an extra Andrew Garfield? Because Andrew Garfield's the only Spider-Man that I care about. He's the only superhero. Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, probably the only superhero, like in terms of, you know, like superhero movies. So like I like Umbrella Academy, who are heroes, and I also like the show The Boys, which is about heroes, but they're very different and more of like a satirical take on superheroes. Whereas superhero movies, I would say, is like your traditional like Spider-Man, Superman, Captain America kind of thing. Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man is the only one of those that I care about. And I really love this art. The artist for this is Amaze Sancha, and I will put their Etsy shop down in my description box. I'm pretty sure that they've got one, but if they don't, I will at least leave their Instagram down in my description box. Also from them, I picked up a couple of prints for Curtis. They have like duos, so it's like 2 postcard sized prints of different characters, and they're like characters that are connected. So the one that I got for Curtis, like I couldn't resist, because it was Anakin and Obi-Wan, who Obi-Wan is like his favorite Star Wars character, and he does like his favorite trilogy is the prequel trilogy because that's the one that he grew up with, and I just really like this art style, so I picked up those for him as well. They also had like Rey and Kylo, they had Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy, which I was really tempted by. They also had, in terms of bookmarks, they had some really nice Frozen ones if you guys want to check those out. I got a couple of prints for me and Curtis, so I got one for him and one for me, but I like nerdy prints in really cool styles, so this might end up in the hallway instead of like in Curtis's man cave. But the artist for these is Kate Mia White, and I will of course put the Etsy shop down in my description box, but she does these just gorgeous black and white prints. So I picked this one up for Curtis, which is the 3 starter Pokemon as tarot cards. My favorite prints of hers that she actually had for sale were the evolutions, or like the evolutions of Eevee, but I couldn't remember which one of them was Curtis's favorite, so I got him the starters instead because I know that he loves Charmander. And then for myself, I picked up this one because I do really love her art style, and I will possibly get some more prints from her shop in the future. Then also for Curtis, I just picked up this big E3 Sonic print for him. This is one of the first things that I picked up for him, but he hasn't decorated like his office or the room, so it's like my library. It's half a chill space for him and then half like an office, and he just hasn't really decorated it at all, so I wanted to get him some cool prints, especially while I was somewhere like Comic-Con. And then, oh, I also picked us both up a cake in a jar. So for Curtis, we got Peel the Force, which is banoffee flavored and also inspired by Star Wars. I got this mainly because Star Wars, but also he's obsessed with bananas. And then for myself, I picked up Red Velvet Redemption, which is of course inspired by Red Dead Redemption, and this one is obviously Red Velvet. And then I think the last things that I picked up were some really cool crystals. So we saw this crystal stall, which obviously we were immediately drawn to it because crystals, but not only do they do like your standard crystals, you know, like the pillars and like tumblestones and stuff, they also do carved crystals, but like nerdy carved crystals. So they had like Pikachus, they had Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, and I picked up a little baby Yoda. I think that they said that this was carved from jade, and honestly I'm just so impressed by the carving. They said they have a custom carver, and I will see if any of us, I think Gavin might have picked up a business card so that I can actually find out who the company are, but I will link it down below if I do manage to find that out. But I couldn't resist. So this is kind of, it's just for the house, so it's for me and Curse really. And then I just picked up 2 very small crystals for myself, because I think all of us aside from maybe Gavin got a dragon head crystal. They were all in like different colors and different stones, but I got this one. And then I also picked up this purple one because I don't know how well you guys can see, but the shape that this is carved into, it's pretty much just like a little spiral, but I just, there's something about it that's really satisfying and I really like. And then, oh, I did pick up one more thing actually, which I will go and grab. It's literally probably the thing that you guys will be the least interested in, but I'll show it to you regardless. So for Slam, I actually have something else that I forgot about to show you guys, but there was a stand that was selling kind of like fandom trading cards, and they had a couple of different Buffy sets. So I picked up a set, Beth picked up one. This one I think is called the Buffy Evolution set. So I'll just flick through and show you guys a couple of the cards in here. And I think Beth picked up a Big Bad set, but you know me, I'm a Buffy nerd, so I wanted to pick up something cool and that's what I went for. And I did pick up a few pairs of earrings, a couple of which I wore throughout the weekend, but the one pair that I still have yet to wear are these tarot ones, which I think, because I can't read that while I'm showing you, but I think I got the fortune ones. And then the ones that I have worn throughout the weekend, I think my favorite ones might be these Ouija ones, but by far the cutest pair are these cute little soot sprites. So yeah, that is pretty much everything that I picked up this weekend. I'm really happy with my purchases. Grand scheme of Comic-Cons, I don't know how good the one that I went to is. I know there was some issues with like overcapacity on one of the days, and also something to do with like some of the sign-ins, I think affecting Joe Quinn specifically, but that didn't really affect me firsthand, so I can't speak about how inconvenient that was for everybody. But in terms of the grand scheme of Comic-Cons, I don't know how good this London one is, but I was really happy with it and I had a really good time. But that could also just be because I've never been to a Comic-Con before. It is my first one. But yeah, thrilled with my purchases, thrilled with my weekend, had a really good time. And just before I wrap up this vlog, I'm going to be reading Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which I'm currently 160 pages into, so we still have a ways to go. I'm not actually going to tell you guys too much about it right now because, to be quite honest, I'm sick of hearing myself speak. But I will say that I'm really enjoying it so far. I read like 120 pages on the way home, and my next port of call is to head out and walk Brie, put her to bed, and then I'm going to be getting in the bath and having a nice soak and getting all of the sweat and London grime off me. While I'm in there, I will carry on doing some reading. Good morning. I am quite far into, I forgot what it was called then, Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and I haven't really told you anything about the book because I obviously started it before I went to YALC, and then I read most of it on the train home, and I was just so tired that day. But I'm currently 280 pages into it and I am really enjoying this. So it is about these 5 witches who are in their mid-30s and they grew up in Hebden Bridge. So the prologue is when they're like around 10 years old and they're about to take their vow to HMRC. Now HMRC is like the governing body of witches, and it's kind of like, I guess, the BBC or Royal Mail, where it's like the official coven of the country. So every witch, whether they actually intend to be an active member of HMRC, need to pledge to the coven when they are a child. Kind of like how we pay our TV license to the BBC. Even if you don't watch it, even if you hate the BBC like I do, still got to pay your TV license unless you only use like Netflix, which I mean I do. But that is besides the point. So now they're in their 30s, they've all gone very separate ways. Like a lot of government institutes, there is a lot of like homophobia, transphobia and racism within the HMRC, whether that is like active or more like systemic and internalized. So one of them, Leonie, has set up her own coven, which is largely about intersectional witches, and the only kind of stipulation of joining her coven is that you can't be white. And then we have Helena, who is the leader of HMRC, so she's the high priestess, she's like the head honcho, the boss bitch. And then we also have Neve and Elle, who are both still in Hebden Bridge. Elle chose to not really pursue being a witch, and she's married with 2 kids, she's happy. And Neve is a vet and she uses her witchcraft to help her. Now, content warning, because in the very first chapter of this book, Neve does actually euthanize a horse, and it is the way that it was done, because she can communicate with animals and like kind of communicate with the horse. I found that to be a little bit sad. So just for you guys who are a little bit triggered by like sad animal stuff like me, that is a little bit upsetting. But like since that first instance, that hasn't been like a big part of the book. But these 5 witches participated in a war that happened, I think it was around 10 years prior to this timeline, so when they were in their mid-20s, and it really took a lot out of them. They're in a different place than they were at that time because of this war. Like a couple of them lost their husbands and have really been struggling since that point. So the main plot of this book is that Helena finds a warlock called Theo, who is the sullied child, which is part of this prophecy that this big demon called the Leviathan will rise when the sullied child enters the mix. So this child is like crazy powerful, and they have them in this cage under HMRC, and they're like exercising their powers. Nobody can get through to them. And because Neve is a very powerful psychic, Helena brings Neve in and asks her like what to do about Theo, because this kid is crazy powerful and also kind of dangerous, and that they can't control their power, and also they won't communicate. So Neve kind of takes Theo under her wing, and essentially they're trying to stop this prophecy from coming through. Theo is very possibly the sullied child, so they want to set them on like the correct path instead of doing whatever it is that causes Theo to continue to spiral into darkness. Content warnings in here as well for, like I said, transphobia, systemic racism, all of that kind of stuff. There is also a lot of talk about things like pronouns and race in here from the perspective of like millennials who didn't quite grow up in a place where like you can openly be queer, and like transness was something that people were like super open about, and that society was progressing towards normalizing. So there's a lot of discussion in here about like normalizing they them pronouns, and also like being more accepting and less judgmental of people who are on a different path in life to you, which I'm really enjoying that conversation throughout here, and I'm really enjoying it. I will say that the writing is not amazing. It's good, it's fine. It kind of reads like a contemporary really, which is fine, but I'm feeling this is going to be 4 or 5 stars, I'm pretty sure. The only thing that's like, I guess keeping it as a dubious 5 stars for me is that I would love it if this book was like 500-600 pages and like really full of lore and world building, and was diving a little bit more into like the history and the war in the way that like a typical fantasy does, where this has a lot of focus, I would say, on the contemporary. So it provides the world building and stuff just to ground the book, as opposed to really diving into it, which is somebody who reads a lot of fantasy. Like I want the details, the nitty gritty. I want you to tell me about this war. But yeah, very impressed with this so far, really enjoying it, and I'm very excited already for the sequel to this. So I am planning on finishing this tonight. I do have sprints scheduled with my patrons, but I have about 160 pages left, which I feel is pretty doable because it's not a slow read at all, especially with the contemporary setting and contemporary writing style, and it's also really compelling. I only realized when I was editing the last clip that I have toothpaste all the way down the front of this vest from this morning, so we're just gonna deal with that. Honestly, I'm in hot slob mode after like dressing nicely, wearing makeup, and all of that jazz while I was in London for 5 days. I'm really just enjoying no makeup and comfortable clothing, but I can now take this book out of the sleeve. Oh my god, I forgot how pretty it is under the dust jacket. But I finished Her Majesty's Royal Coven and I did really enjoy it. There is quite a bit of action at the end of this, and I didn't think, I wouldn't say it was badly written. I personally don't jive with action scenes at the best of time, and they weren't the best action scenes that I've ever read. They were like not compellingly written, I want to say. They weren't particularly interesting to read, and they were just like a little bit messy. And the writing style, while it was fine, I found to be a little bit jarring in a couple of instances. There's a lot of references to like millennial TV and movies in here. Like, I'm pretty sure we have a Legally Blonde reference, there's Mean Girls, there's a lot of Spice Girls, they talk about Charmed. And while that was fun for me, it's not something that I typically enjoy in books, and in a couple of places I just thought it was a little bit much. But I really love the vibes of this. I know I complained or was a little bit like, why is this set in Hebden Bridge? But the Yorkshire references and the way that some of the dialogue was written for some of the Yorkshire characters, I actually really enjoyed, because I'm not from Yorkshire, I'm from Lancashire, and actually part of this book is also set in Manchester, which is 30 minutes from my hometown, and then part of it is set in Yorkshire, which is where I currently live. I don't live in the same area as this book, but I actually went to uni not far from where this book is set, and I still live in Yorkshire, so I did like those elements of it. I liked how relatable it was to me in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed this book, and I've noticed with this book that there is a trend of me actually really enjoying contemporary witchy stories. Think like the X, which I gave 5 stars to. The Ravens, I think, was a 4-star read for me. We also have Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, which is a series that I hate the writing style of, but I really like the plot and the story, and that has quite like, it's set in the real world but in a magic school, but it has a very like conversational contemporary tone to the writing style. So this is definitely like a genre of witchy books that I'm noticing that I really enjoy. Desperate for the sequel with the way that this ended. I'm interested to see if they're gonna find a way out of this, or whether like what's done is done, if that makes sense. I will say that this deals with a lot of contemporary and societal topics. There's a lot of talk about gender, sexuality and race in here. While there is a fantasy plotline going on here, a lot of that kind of stuff is the point of the story. This book is essentially a fuck you to J.K. Rowling, and I'm not mad about it for that, but just so that you guys know, like, there is like a particular focus on that with like a fantasy plotline as well. But I'm pretty sure Juno Dawson is more of a contemporary author than a fantasy author. I know that Clean is a story about like a rehab, but I don't know what any of her other books are about. But I'm pretty sure she doesn't really write fantasy, so obviously like it's kind of expected that those contemporary and societal issues are going to be a bit more at the forefront. But yeah, I loved this, and I'm so excited to get to the sequel. I did see a little bit of Juno Dawson's panel at YALC, but it was just kind of on as we were on our way somewhere else, so I just like popped my head in and listened to like a couple of minutes. But I am 10 times more interested in Juno Dawson now after reading this book. I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy this one because the plot sounded interesting to me and the vibes were kind of there, but with Juno Dawson being more of a contemporary writer, I wasn't sure if it was going to hit, but it definitely did. So yeah, this was my Fairy Loot edition as well. I think this is the second of the 4 adult Fairy Loot books that I've received so far that I've actually read, and so far I've given both of them 4 stars, which is a really good track record if we compare it to like how I'm doing with Goldsborough. But that brings me to the end of this YALC vlog that I extended a little bit just to include my thoughts on this book. I realized that I haven't said in this vlog, but anyone who came over and said hi to me during YALC, honestly, that was part of what made this weekend so great. I really loved meeting a whole bunch of you guys. It was just, honestly, it was an experience like no other that weekend, and I had the best time. I wish it could be YALC every weekend. Had a couple of days at home, I'm recharged, I'm ready to go. I loved meeting a whole bunch of you guys. I love spending time with my friends. Comic-Con was amazing. YALC was pretty decent. I have to say, like, the event that is YALC is not something that would ever occupy my time for 3 whole days. I mean, if that's something that you're interested in, if you want the panels, if you want the author sign-in, I think you could have a great time at YALC. It's just not really an event typically for me, which is surprising because obviously I love books. But yeah, I'm really glad that Comic-Con was there. Had the best weekend. I think with the weather being really good as well, like, it didn't even feel like we were in England, because when I left home it was kind of overcast and getting cooler. It was still warm, but it wasn't as hot. And as soon as I got to London, it was like really, really hot. And it felt like I was having like a summer holiday in Europe instead of just like a weekend trip to London. But yeah, especially because I was a little bit nervous about going with how I've been feeling over the last couple of months, and also generally how I always get a little bit nervous about going on trips. I had such a good time. There's actually not, apart from my social media depleting a couple of times, which didn't last very long really, and was kind of expected, I can't think of a single bad thing about that trip. Had the best time, and I'm really eager to do it again next year. So yeah, I do hope you guys have enjoyed this vlog. I'm gonna go to bed now and read Lore Olympus, which I think, unless I start the next vlog now, I will just be recapping this at the beginning of next week's vlog. But I'm so excited to pick this up, so do stick around if that's something that you may be interested in. But aside from that, guys, please don't forget to like this vlog if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.